I never considered myself a jealous man. I trusted my wife, Emma, the way you're supposed to trust the person you build a life with. Trust wasn't blind faith, though. It was earned over years of routines, shared bills, quiet mornings, and the kind of understanding that doesn't need explaining. At least, that's what I believed. I'm Daniel, 42, married for 11 years, and until recently, I thought I understood where I stood in my own marriage. Emma and I met in our late 20s. She was confident, social, the kind of woman people gravitated toward. I was more reserved, steady, predictable in the best way. She used to say that was what made her feel safe with me. In the early years, we balanced each other. I worked long hours in logistics, came home tired but present. She worked in marketing, always surrounded by people, ideas, conversations. It worked until slowly it didn't. The shift wasn't sudden. It never is. It started with late work dinners that became late nights. Team outings I wasn't invited to. Phone calls taken in the other room. When I asked casually at first, she'd laugh it off. "You worry too much," she'd say, kissing my cheek like I was a child who didn't know better. I told myself not to read into it. Marriage needs space. Trust means not interrogating every change. But something about one name kept appearing. Mark. He was a new regional lead at her company. I heard about him often enough that it registered. He was funny. He was sharp. He just got her work frustrations. When his name came up, her tone changed slightly brighter, more animated. I noticed it because it was the same tone she used to have with me. One Friday evening, Emma came home later than usual. She was dressed nicer than she needed to be for a casual office dinner. When I asked how it went, she said fine, then mentioned Mark had stayed late too, helping her wrap up a presentation. I nodded, said nothing, but something tightened in my chest. It wasn't anger. It was instinct, the kind you feel before you have words for it. Over the next few weeks, the pattern repeated. More late nights, more Mark stories, more distance between us. When I reached for her at night, she'd say she was exhausted. When I suggested a weekend away, she said her schedule was packed. I tried not to keep score, but loneliness has a way of counting for you. The night everything tilted was unremarkable on the surface. Emma told me she'd be home late again. Team drinks. I cooked dinner for one, cleaned up, and sat in the living room with the television on low. Around 10, I checked my phone. No message. At 11, I checked again. Nothing. I wasn't angry. I was uneasy. When she finally came in close to midnight, she smelled like wine and perfume that wasn't hers. She was smiling at her phone. I asked calmly, "Did you have a good night?" She nodded, distracted. I asked who stayed late. She sighed, visibly irritated. Mark, obviously. Why does it matter? That was the first time I felt something break. I told her it made me uncomfortable how close they seemed. I didn't accuse. I didn't raise my voice. I said the way a husband should, honest and direct. She laughed, not kindly. "You're being jealous," she said. "If you can't handle it, maybe you should just go home." The words hung there between us, sharper than she realized. I looked at her, waiting for her to soften them, to take them back. She didn't. She turned away, already done with the conversation. I stood there, quiet, absorbing what she'd just given me. She thought she'd dismissed me. She had no idea she'd just made a decision for both of us. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat alone in the dark, replaying her words. "Go home if you're jealous." I realized something then. I already wasn't home anymore. I didn't pack much. Just a small duffel, the same one I used for short work trips. A couple of shirts, jeans, my charger, toiletries. Not because I was rushing, but because I didn't need more. When you realize you've been living like a guest in your own house, you stop needing things from it. I left before sunrise. I didn't wake Emma. I didn't leave a note. Her words echoed clearly enough. I drove to my brother Liam's place across town. He didn't ask questions when he opened the door, just nodded, moved a pile of laundry off the couch, and said I could stay as long as I needed. That first morning felt unreal. No tension, no watching the clock, no wondering if I was overreacting. Just quiet, By noon, my phone buzzed. A message from Emma. "Where are you?" I didn't reply. Not out of spite. I needed to see how long it would take her to say something that wasn't about herself. The next message came an hour later. "This isn't funny, Daniel." Then, finally, that evening, "I didn't mean it like that. You know that." I read the words slowly. No apology, no concern, just revision. I responded with a single sentence. "You told me to go home." I listened. She called immediately. I let it ring. When I answered on the third attempt, she was already defensive. "You're being dramatic," she said. "You can't just disappear because of a joke." "A joke doesn't make someone feel replaceable," I replied. My voice surprised me. It was calm, steady. I wasn't trying to win. I was done explaining. She accused me of punishing her, of trying to control her friendships, of being insecure. I didn't interrupt. When she paused, I said, "I didn't leave because of Mark. I left because you stopped caring whether I stayed." There was silence, real silence, not the distracted kind. Then she said something that confirmed everything. "So what? You're just going to throw away 11 years. I almost laughed. "I didn't throw anything away," I said. I set it down when I realized I was the only one holding it. Over the next few days, the story she told others changed. I was unstable. I overreacted. I abandoned her without warning. Mutual friends reached out cautiously at first. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. People who knew me knew. People who weren't worth correcting. On the fourth day, she showed up at Liam's place unannounced. She looked tired, angry, cornered. She said Mark had nothing to do with it, that I'd misunderstood everything, that she never thought I'd actually leave. That line stuck with me. She never thought I'd leave. It wasn't remorse. It was shock at losing leverage. I asked her a simple question. If I stayed, would anything change? She didn't answer right away. When she did, it was vague. Therapy, time, effort. The usual words people use when they want relief without responsibility. I thanked her for coming and told her I needed space. She cried then, not because she missed me, but because the ground under her had shifted. A week later, I went back to the house while she was at work to collect the rest of my things. The place felt smaller, like it had already adjusted to my absence. I noticed how little of myself was actually there. I left my key on the counter. We're separated now. No shouting, no courtroom drama. Just two people finally admitting what had been true for a long time. She texts sometimes, checking in, testing the door. I keep my replies polite and brief. The more distance I create, the clearer everything becomes. Here's the truth no one tells you. Jealousy isn't always about insecurity. Sometimes it's your intuition begging you to pay attention. I didn't leave because I was jealous. I left because I was dismissed. Because love doesn't dare you to walk away, and then act surprised when you do. When Emma told me to go home, she thought she was calling my bluff. She didn't realize I had already accepted that the marriage I missed no longer existed. Walking away wasn't revenge. It was self-respect. And for the first time in years, that felt like coming home.